The hypocrisy and double standards in foreign policy comparing Ukraine and Palestine has reached a schizophrenic level, but that's a good sign, inshallah, as I'll explain. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Western governments were quick to condemn Russia. Our own government, for example, was pushing for economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure, some even inviting support for armed groups. That's because international law means something. Territorial sovereignty means something. The Geneva Convention is important. But when it comes to the equally illegal but racially motivated occupations, annexations and settler colonialism of the Zionist occupation of Palestine, despite being far worse morally, they're not just silent but continually expressing support for the occupier. My intention here is not to show surprise or lament or be sad. We're not surprised that there's no moral logic that underlies governments today, only temporary allegiances and interests. The point is, normally there's at least some veneer of diplomatic speech and balance, but this time it's different. The Home Secretary Suella Braverman has come under some criticism from anti-racism and Palestinian rights groups for a potentially career-ending letter she sent to the police, effectively complaining about demonstrations of showing support for Palestinians and condemning their occupiers. She's asking the police to consider reinterpreting benign slogans of support for Palestinians as somehow against British Jews, flaunting the principle of freedom of expression and assembly and basic logic and decency and empathy while you're at it. Fortunately, our experience so far when it comes to police in the UK suggests that they will flat out ignore her, because number one, generally police on the ground put their job of public safety before political and ideological point scoring. Number two, they don't really like her. And number three, even if staple chants like "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" were suddenly to become illegal, there's no way they're going to question 250,000 people in Hyde Park or tens of thousands of people marching on Downing Street about it. Even the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has shocked people. Prime Ministers normally make measured and statesman-like messages, coded in diplomatic speech or dog whistle politics at the worst. All that went out of the window when he said, "There are not two sides. There is no question of balance." The shocking erasure of context, logic, basic facts, humanity for the illegally occupied. These are not normal levels of double standards, but the outbursts of people at the cusp of losing a narrative battle. They are on a sinking ship caused by a tidal wave of public support for the oppressed in Palestine. And that's where the good news comes in. What we're seeing is a convulsion as there's a tussle for the soul of Britain when it comes to the betrayal of Palestinians orchestrated in London a century ago. People need to remember that there's always been a struggle between the ruling establishment and the people of Britain. Depending on one's personal politics, they'll describe this through different lenses: class, wealth, land ownership, race and white supremacy. Regardless of that, the fact of the matter is there are some people, processes and structures that perpetuate the status quo on any morally abhorrent issue, and the traditions of radical activism that oppose them, that are sometimes labelled as anti-British or extreme or even sometimes terrorist, until they get too loud to ignore, at which some point something really interesting happens. As public intellectual and black artist Akala put it,
"These traditions have often been persecuted and even labelled anti-British or anti-state, until they bear fruit that the state then wants to claim for itself, such as poor people getting the right to vote or the abolition of child labour. These gains are then presented as the result of inherent British values rather than as the results of serious political struggle that they in fact were."
When their backs are against the wall, they may lash out, but history has shown that the state switches sides to claim that struggle as its own. It's a matter of when, not if. There may be people alive today who are officers in British concentration camps in Kenya, or definitely children of officers. I met a very old English man several years ago who visibly looked tortured, saying, "I went to war for my country against the blacks." Now they're all NHS staff looking after him. SubhanAllah. There are those who fought and opposed the likes of Nelson Mandela among us, berating him as a terrorist. His name was removed from US terrorist lists as late as 2008. We don't have to go back that far in history. Why am I mentioning this? These are all things that our ruling establishment was unequivocally in support of, and many attacked those activists that were working against these injustices. But when the argument got too loud to ignore, after intense pressure and sacrifice, the levers of the state switched and appropriated the fruits of radical activism as its own. Either way, justice prevails in the end, even if it takes time. And the same will happen for the rehumanization of Palestinians and Muslims in general, inshallah. But we require steadfastness and perseverance. So what should we do? Number one, continue becoming too loud to ignore with the winning argument that appeals to all people who haven't been radicalized by the dehumanization of Palestinians and Muslims in general. People generally aren't stupid. They have access to primary sources of information now. However much the legacy media hates it, video and news feeds are no longer private and filtered, but public now for all to see, on Twitter for example. Thanks Elon. Number two, bring Islamic principles like universal justice into the political discourse. We can and must insert morality where there is none. Only temporary allegiances and interests. Some people might be happy to be anti-Russian aggression but also pro-Israeli aggression, but the Quranic call for justice is universal. No caveats, no exceptions. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين. O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justness, witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves, your parents or your relatives. Number 3, be prepared for sacrifice. It's easy to oppose South African apartheid now, but people lost their jobs over it when some of us were kids. The Quran and Sunnah's call for justice is for when it's difficult, when it's costly. That's your and my test. Do not be afraid of activism for the freedom of Palestinians. It's perfectly legal, but the legality is not the issue here. It's overcoming our inherited cowardice, as Muslim Beg once put it in one of our podcasts. One way Suela's letter really backfired is it gives us a clearly laid out action plan of what not to do to carry on and increase advocacy for the cause of Masjid al-Aqsa and our Palestinian brothers and sisters. So let me be clear for Suela or anyone else who's trying to discourage us. Number 1, we do not invite support for any group or faction, including Hamas. The cause of Masjid al-Aqsa and the occupied Palestinians is the cause of 2 billion Muslims who have historically protected this place for the access and protection of all religious groups. It is the Muslims there who are still asked to hold the keys to the holiest church in all of Christianity, to act as a neutral party between Christian denominations. The same Christians that, by the way, routinely get spat on and attacked by Zionist colonial settlers as well. This is also the cause of billions more people that still have that innate sense of justice, who haven't been brainwashed into dehumanizing the Palestinians. Just look at this map. The majority of the world is in fact standing with the Palestinians. Number 2, Palestinians have the right to resistance and freedom from occupation and settler colonialism under international law. Full stop. Billions of us outside of Palestine are not taking part in any armed struggle over here. We are simply showing solidarity with the victims of the 75-year illegal occupation and ongoing siege and blockade of Gaza, what rights groups are calling the world's largest open-air concentration camp. And we're condemning this huge stain on humanity. And number 3, this has absolutely nothing to do with Jews. Jews are marching with us. If the people carrying out these illegal annexations and occupations identifies as Jedis, it wouldn't change this in the slightest. If anyone is anti-Semitic, it is you for even implying that there is an equivalence between Jews who have been living among us in peace and the racist apartheid European colonies still occupying the Middle East. Suela, we're getting ready to march with our Muslim brothers and sisters and our Jewish friends, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So you might as well switch sides now or later regret going down in the wrong side of history like the rest of your peers.